Hello?
Hello, is this Charlotte?
Is this Dustin?
This is Dustin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's an honor to be speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to ask you, I know the new book, Little
Yeah.
House in the Hollywood Hills, is out now. Really an incredible story. I mean, working with Elvis and relationship with Jim Morrison, addiction, recovery. It sounds like it should really be made into a movie almost.
I don't know about that, but I'm glad you enjoyed the story because it's all mine and it's all true. And, we just decided we didn't want to do a little puff piece, and it was interesting to go back and relive those things.
Well, Charlotte, I want to introduce you here to my co-host, Ton. He just walked in.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm pretty good. A little bit late, but I'm
Good.
glad we got you on the line.
Well, we're ready to roll whenever you're ready.
Oh, I'm definitely ready. So I guess just to continue on here, for the listeners who know you as Miss Beadle, am I pronouncing that correctly, Dusty?
That's right. It's Eva Beadle, Beadle, from Little House on the Prairie, the school teacher, and that was her real name. She was a real living person, and Laura Ingalls wrote about her in her books.
Well, yeah, it seems like for the listeners out there who might only know you from Little House, they might be kind of surprised, I guess, by your story in your book. It's almost like an episode of the show with all the different ups and downs you've had.
Yeah, sometimes you cry and sometimes you laugh. Yeah, the way life is. Maybe that's why Little House on the Prairie was so popular.
Well, I want to ask you, Charlotte, what are your memories of being on the set and working with Michael Landon? I know it seems like it was definitely a wholesome show on camera, but was it always that way off camera?
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact is we had so many children and parents on our set on a daily basis that could hardly be anything else. But believe me, there were plenty of laughs and and practical jokes played and, a few tears shed here and there. But, yeah, it was a great set to be on. I was used to being on shows where you show up at 6 a.m. and you work until sometimes 10 p.m. or midnight, and then back on the set at 6 a.m. And that's not the way Michael Landon ran his set. He was a family man, and his crew were, family people, and he liked to have them go home and be with their family at a reasonable hour. And so that's what we did. We wrapped it, between 5:30 and 6 every night because he planned it well. He directed a lot of the shows. He, co-wrote most of them. It came up with story ideas, and that was his preference. And these are guys, men and women that he had worked with all through Bonanza, and then went on to work with him in Highway to Heaven, and then on to that last series. The name escapes me, but he was planning a series when he, was diagnosed with cancer and then passed away. But yeah, it was a great show to be on.
It sounds like a wonderful experience. Now, you ended up getting written off at the fourth season. Did that come as a surprise, or were you aware of that?
Oh, no. When they first hired me, they told me that it would be for 4 seasons because in the books, Laura eventually becomes the school teacher after, she met Elmira Wilder, who became her husband, through his sister, Liza Jane Wilder. She came in after Miss Beadle left. She came in and she was the school teacher. Laura met El Manzo, and then they got married, and then later on, Laura became the school teacher. These were facts that Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote about. So, yeah, I was ready. I was very sad, especially on that last day, to be leaving the show. But, it was just the practical way, and it was only right. The story had, the character had, gone the length of the story. And so I moved on to some other things and other events and life in general, basically.
Yeah, I know over your career you had a lot of stuff that you were involved with, and a big one that you did after Little House, and kind of the exact opposite, I would say, working with David Lynch. Can you explain kind of how that came about?
Yeah, actually, after Little House on the Prairie, several years later, I did show up on Twin Peaks, which was the, that kind of weird series that became a cult classic just as his film Eraserhead did. And actually, I was in Eraserhead, too. That's how we met. He was a student at the American Film Institute, and my roommate, Doreen, was a volunteer there, and she came on one day, and she said, I've been assigned to this movie with the student director, David Lynch, and he needs an actress for his movie, and I told him my roommate was an actress, so he's coming for dinner. And so that's how I met David Lynch. And he arrived, he was in a suit and pants. The jacket and the shirt had holes in the elbows, both sides. He had a Panama hat that had a hole in the front, and he was wearing 2 neckties. And he hands me this script for something called Eraserhead, which I did not understand whatsoever. But, later on, as I thought it was going to be, like a 4 or 5 day gig, like most student films. Turned out for me it was 4 years, off and on, and while I was doing Little House on the Prairie, so it was quite a feat to go back and forth between the two, sometimes on the same day, or working all night with David Lynch and working the next day with Ralph Waite and the people on the Waltons, and then Michael Landon. But I was young and strong and a professional, so by God, I did my work.
Well, yeah, it's not often that an actress would wind up on, a show that's so iconic, but besides Little House, Twin Peaks was also very popular, and Eraserhead as well, a cult classic. I mean, you really were kind of hitting the lottery with a lot of these acting gigs that you got.
I know, and you know what? That's just a tribute to my luck. I've been lucky, a girlfriend, her name was Mickey Fox, and she said, Charlotte, you could fall down a manhole and come up with a set of dishes. That was her comment on my life, and it was really true. Although I did have a lot of, I don't know if you've read the book or not, or just, seen the outline, but, it wasn't all, daisies and butterflies. I had some very dark times in my life, too, and I don't hesitate to write about it. Hopefully somebody may identify with the things that I went through, or see their son, daughter, brother, sister, or somebody, heading in the wrong direction, and maybe, it will give them the courage to speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you came out on the other side, and you're still working. I know even the new Twin Peaks for Showtime coming out next year that you're involved in.
Yes, I am. I was up in North Bend, Washington, to do my part on the new series, and I wish I could tell you more, but they had me sign a confidentiality contract, so none of us on the show, and I can't even tell you who's on it, although it was posted on the Internet. It got posted with a little, there's 271 characters on the new series, and the ones that came back from the previous series are there's an asterisk beside their name, so if you go on Google or something, you might come up with that list. But other than that, I can't tell you story plot or anything because I don't know. I was only there for my part. I got no script other than my part, and I didn't care. I was delighted to be working with David again. And it was one of the happiest sets I've been on in years. People were just thrilled with everything that was going on.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting for the fans to see the show come back after all these years. And
yeah.
Before you go, Charlotte, I want to ask you your memories of working on a film that was kind of, I guess, poorly received maybe at the time, but now people kind of starting to appreciate it. Human Highway, when working with Neil Young. Can I get your memories on that?
Oh, absolutely. I had known Neil since the early 70s. I had a clothing store called the Liquid Butterfly, and it was in a building across from Elektra Records. So, and in the same building with my store was the manager for Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, CSNY, Jackson Browne, Devo, a lot of, really fun and fabulous people, and Jim Morrison. So people were in and out of my store all the time, and so we became really good friends. And then later on, these were days when, Neil Young was opening for Joni Mitchell at the Troubadour, and the Troubadour was a small 100-seat, club, and this is where they played. In those days, it was way before they were doing, big, huge concerts and all. But it was really fun to have, everybody around, and it was in the beginning of their careers too. So, we all go back. But Neil, a few years later, asked me if I would play a part in a movie he had written, and that he was doing with Devo and Oh man, Dean Stockwell, Dennis Hopper, and Russ Tamblyn, and it's called Human Highway, and he just re-released it to 400 theaters across the country. Once again, you can probably go online and find out where it's playing, or you could go on YouTube and actually watch the whole original film. It's much shorter now. He re-edited it before he re-released it in theaters, but it's a lot of fun. It's about the last day on Earth in a place called Nuclear Valley. It's a comedy.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely it's an interesting movie for sure.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I saw it on a VHS tape way back in the day.
Oh, way back when, yeah. It's much shorter now and much tighter, and it flows much better. But it was still a lot of fun. Those were, that was 4 weeks on a set with these crazy characters, and I had a lot of fun. Like I say, I'm lucky I fall into the most amazing circumstances and make friends with the most unusual and exciting people. So I hope my life continues. I just turned 75, and I just got married again.
Oh, congratulations.
So life goes on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's great. Again, the Little House on the Hollywood Hills is out now, and the Twin Peaks reboot coming up. Is there anything else you want to mention, or anything you're working on?
Well, right now that's it. That's about it. I'm going on a book tour starting tomorrow in Richmond, Virginia. I'm going to be there it's called the Great Southern, which is a takeoff on the Great Northern, which is Twin Peaks, and I'm going to meet a lot of my friends there. And then in the summer, I'm going to be in the Midwest. I'm going to be in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And then I'll go up to North Bend, Washington for the annual Twin Peaks Festival. This will be, I think, my 26th festival up there. And it's, life is good. And I work every day. I have a line of tote bags that have pictures from Little House on the Prairie on it. And I sell those all over the country. So I'm busy.
Wonderful. Again, Charlotte, thanks so much for being on with us today.
You're so welcome. And thank you, Tom and Dustin. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, I will. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.